Hi, friends. I'm glad to be back. And this time I'd like to approach a concept that always comes to mind when we talk about astrology and other things too, but especially astrology. It's the concept of free will. Does we have free will? If so, how can we do some kinds of predictions in astrology? Because free will is something that comes to mind every time we talk about astrology in general. Because astrology is, in some sense, making predictions. Not those predictions of the past, like you're going to marry such a guy like this, or you're going to be a rich man, or you'll get sick. No, it's not something like that. But in some sense, we make predictions like I more or less know how someone will behave in the future, even if it's still a baby. It's a kind of prediction. And sometimes we can predict a crisis for next year using, for example, using transits and solar return charts. So it's a kind of prediction. So if it's predictable, it goes beyond free will. So how we deal with this? So it's an important discussion, but before we get into the discussion about free will, I'd like to show you, or I'd like to have a look, or to get a look into an idea. We live limited lives. We live in a limited world. For example, I cannot fly out the window right now. I don't have wings. I was not born with wings. And still, if we had already a very full developed technology for using a backpack flying machine like that, I don't have enough space here to be able to fly out. But anyway, this could be a childish example. Let's get more practical examples now. For example, I have friends in Australia. So I could tell them, oh, count on me for tomorrow. No, it's impossible. I cannot arrive in Australia tomorrow in any sense because I live in Spain. And I needed to manage flights, connections, airports, time, whatever. Lots of things that limit my flying to Australia. So I have limits to deal with, and it proves to me that I live in a limited world. Oh, okay, so you live in a limited world with, how is, I have freedom. Of course we have freedom, I have freedom, but I couldn't choose to change my career now. Like, for example, if I tell you, I am beginning a new career now, I'm gonna be a football player. Oh man, you are almost 60. It's impossible to begin a football player career right now. Your body doesn't have any more the characteristics it should have to develop a successful football player career or any other sports. So what's the matter here? The matter is my body doesn't have the abilities, the characteristics, or everything needed to become a football player. So I'm limited. My body limits my choices now. So what someone could say, oh, okay, so body, physical, geographical limits, but we can overcome every mental limits, not every mental limits. For example, if someone tells me, we need a Russian translator for next week, why don't you learn Russian in 1 week and come to us? No, man, it's impossible. It's really impossible because I was born in a Latin language surroundings. So to shift or to choose or to learn Russian in some sense, I needed to have a mental shift that it's impossible for me right now. Not only because my brain plasticity wouldn't allow me to learn another language. I can learn another language, but not in 1 week. So what is freedom in the end? Freedom is free will. And briefly, free will is equal to free choice. And choice, or free choice, is choosing among possibilities given by the limits of the world. And this world includes my body and my mind. It means we have to be aware of the limits of the world in order to be responsible with our choices. So freedom in the end is equal choices. So then we have to be aware of the limits we are living in and be conscious about our characteristics. Now enters astrology. How astrology, what astrology has to do with everything, with all this discussion? What astrology shows? Astrology shows your personal traits, like the way you make decisions. And these traits are not given by astrology. Astrology is only showing it. These traits you can recognize in yourself. If people ask you, how are you? How do you deal with the world? Tell us about you. You would say some things that astrology can say. So many people during an astrology chart reading, I am like that. Yeah, you're right. That's interesting. But this is not the interesting part of astrology. This is interesting. Interesting how through some symbols, drawings in a symbolic drawings in a paper can, or in a video, can tell how someone behaves, for example, or their preferences, the way this person makes decision, the way this person shows love and affection, and many other characteristics that astrology can tell. But astrology, because it's symbolic, it can show you how to still be in the same chart, but acting in different ways, in conformation with the new circumstances, in accordance with some new circumstances. You can choose different behaviors, or make different choices, because you are using the symbolic approach. And the symbolic approach is not fixed. It's not so limited as we firstly thought. Then astrology shows you that the way you think about yourself, it's not so limited as you may think, observing yourself during a lifetime. Then you can go beyond those limits. So if astrology, a good chart reading, a good astrological approach to your self-understanding or to your self-knowledge can give you much more alternatives than you had before. In the end, astrology gives you more choices. If it's giving you more choices, and if it gives you more choice, it gives you more free will. And so you achieve more freedom using astrology. In the end, astrology, or the astrological approach, does not limit your free will. It enhances your free will. All right, friends, that's all for today. Please subscribe to my channel and make questions. You can use your keyboard over there. You can use your mobile and ask me questions, make comments, or whatever you want. If you want to suggest any topic for the future. But next recording, I will still approach free will, but compare it to destiny. And destiny, oh, that's a hot spot to talk about. See you next recording. Thank you very much for your attention until now. Bye-bye.